She ran to the elevator, fleeing her ex, unaware the millionaire was inside. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched endlessly before her, fluorescent lights flickering overhead as Maya's sneakers squeaked against the polished floor. Her heart hammered so violently she could hear it in her ears, drowning out everything except one sound: footsteps. His footsteps. Getting closer, getting faster. She didn't dare look back. She knew that smile. That terrible, familiar smile that used to make her freeze, make her small, make her nothing. But tonight, on the 14th floor of the Grand Meridian Hotel, Maya wasn't freezing. She was running. Running like her life depended on it. Because maybe it did. Her cleaning cart crashed against the wall as she abandoned it, supplies scattering across the carpet. She heard him call her name, Maya, and the sound sent ice through her veins. 2 years. She'd spent 2 years rebuilding herself, hiding, working double shifts, staying invisible. 2 years of peace shattered in a single moment. Her fingers trembled as she reached the elevator bay, slamming the button over and over, whispering desperate prayers under her breath. The numbers above the door crawled downward. 12, 11, 10. His voice grew louder behind her, angrier. The elevator chimed. The doors slid open. Maya threw herself inside, her entire body shaking as she hit the close button with frantic urgency. The doors began to slide shut. She saw him, then Kelvin, his face twisted with rage, his hand reaching out. The doors closed with a soft thud. She collapsed against the back wall, sliding down to the floor, her chest heaving with sobs she'd held back for too long. Safe. She was safe. Except she wasn't alone. A man stood in the corner of the elevator, his presence so still she hadn't noticed him in her panic. Tall, dressed in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, holding a tablet that now hung forgotten at his side. His eyes, dark, concerned, impossibly calm, were fixed on her. Maya's breath caught. Through her tears, through her terror, recognition flickered. She'd seen his face before. On plaques in the hotel lobby, in the staff newsletter, on the wall of portraits in the administrative wing. Ethan Ward, the owner, the billionaire who built this empire from nothing. And she was crumpled on the floor of his elevator, mascara running, uniform wrinkled, looking like everything she'd tried so hard not to be broken. The elevator descended in thick silence. Maya couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process that the one person she'd never wanted to see her like this was witnessing her complete unraveling. When the elevator reached the ground floor, when those doors opened again, Kelvin would be waiting. She knew it. He always found her, always knew where to look, always won. But this time, something would be different. This time, when those doors opened, a stranger would step between her and the monster she'd spent 2 years running from. This time, someone would finally ask the question no one had ever asked before. Is this man bothering you? And Maya's entire world, everything she thought she knew about strength, about safety, about being alone, would change forever. Because sometimes, the worst moment of your life becomes the doorway to everything you never knew you deserved. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's story, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story that might just change the way you see love, courage, and second chances. Now, let's get into it. The elevator hummed softly as it traveled downward, each floor marked by a gentle chime that felt deafening in the silence. Maya pressed herself against the back corner, her knees drawn to her chest, trying to make herself invisible, trying to disappear. Old habits died hard. For 2 years, she'd perfected the art of being unseen, keeping her head down, avoiding eye contact, blending into the background of other people's lives. It had kept her safe. It had kept Kelvin from finding her. Until tonight, Ethan Ward remained perfectly still, his tablet now tucked under his arm. He'd been reviewing quarterly reports when the elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, expecting perhaps a guest or a staff member making their rounds. He had not expected a young woman to burst inside like she was fleeing for her life. He had not expected the raw terror in her eyes or the way she'd crumbled to the floor, shaking so violently he could see it from across the small space. Something in his chest tightened. He knew fear when he saw it. Real fear. Not the nervous uncertainty of a job interview or the flutter of meeting someone important. This was primal. This was survival. "Miss," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. He didn't want to startle her. "Are you hurt?" Maya's head snapped up. She'd almost forgotten he was there, lost in the roar of her own panic. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. His expression held no judgment, no irritation at having his evening interrupted. Just concern. Pure, uncomplicated concern. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. What could she possibly say? That her ex-boyfriend, the man who'd once put her in the hospital, had found her? That she'd been stupid enough to think she could outrun her past? That she was so terrified she could barely breathe? She started, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was in here. I had to." "It's okay," Ethan said quickly. He took a small step back, giving her space. He'd learned long ago that sometimes the kindest thing you could do for someone was to not crowd them. You don't have to explain. The elevator passed the 8th floor. 7th, 6th. Maya's breathing quickened again. The ground floor was coming, and Kelvin would be there. She knew it with the same certainty she knew her own name. He wouldn't give up. He never gave up. That was what made him so dangerous, his persistence, his refusal to let her go, his absolute conviction that she belonged to him. Ethan noticed the change in her immediately. The way her eyes fixed on the descending numbers above the door, the way her hands clenched into fists, the way every muscle in her body tensed like a spring about to break. "Miss," he said again, his tone more urgent now. "Is someone waiting for you down there? Someone you don't want to see?" Maya's eyes filled with fresh tears. She nodded, the movement small and defeated. "Someone who might hurt you." Another nod, smaller still. Ethan's jaw tightened. He'd built his fortune on reading people, on understanding human nature, on knowing when someone was in genuine distress. And this young woman, this hotel employee, he'd probably passed 100 times without noticing, was in danger. Real danger. The elevator chimed for the 4th floor. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya," she whispered. "Maya," he repeated, and somehow, hearing her name in his calm, steady voice, made her feel marginally less alone. "When these doors open, I need you to stay behind me. Can you do that?" She stared at him, confusion cutting through her fear. "What?" "Stay behind me," he said again, his voice firm now, not harsh, but commanding, the voice of a man used to being obeyed. "Whatever happens, whatever this person says or does, you stay behind me. Understand? 3rd floor." "You don't have to do that," Maya said, fresh panic rising. "You don't understand. He's not going to just leave. He'll make a scene. Let him," Ethan said simply. 2nd floor. Maya wanted to argue, to tell this wealthy stranger that getting involved with Kelvin was a mistake, that her problems weren't worth his time. But the words died in her throat, because there was something in Ethan Ward's eyes, a quiet, unmovable certainty that made her believe him, made her think that maybe, just this once, she didn't have to face Kelvin alone. The elevator chimed, one final time. Ground floor. The doors began to slide open, and Maya's entire world held its breath. The lobby of the Grand Meridian Hotel was a study in understated elegance. Cream-colored walls, rich mahogany accents, crystal chandeliers that cast warm light across the space. At 10:30 on a Thursday evening, it was relatively quiet, a few guests checking in at the front desk, a couple having drinks in the lounge area, the soft murmur of late-night conversation, and Kelvin, standing directly in front of the elevator, his face red with barely contained rage. The moment the doors opened, his eyes locked onto the elevator interior, searching. When he spotted Maya, his expression shifted into something that made her blood run cold. Not anger anymore. Worse. That smile, that terrible, possessive smile that said he'd won, that she was his, that she'd always be his. "Maya," he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "There you are. We need to talk, baby. Come on." He stepped forward, reaching into the elevator, and Ethan Ward stepped directly into his path. Kelvin stopped short, surprised. He was a big man, 6'2", broad-shouldered, the kind of size he'd used to intimidate Maya into submission for years. But Ethan stood at 6'3", and while his build was leaner, there was something in his posture that radiated quiet authority, the kind of power that didn't need to shout or threaten, the kind that simply was. "Excuse me," Kelvin said, trying to look around Ethan. "I'm talking to my girlfriend." "I'm not your girlfriend." Maya's voice came from behind Ethan, small but defiant. "I haven't been for 2 years." Kelvin's smile vanished. "Maya, don't start this again. Just come out here so we can talk like adults. The lady seems uncomfortable, Ethan said, his tone perfectly polite and completely immovable. I think it's best if you step back. I think it's best if you mind your own business. Kelvin shot back, his voice rising. Several hotel guests turned to look. This is between me and my girl. I'm not, Maya started. She's not your girl, Ethan cut in smoothly. His hand moved subtly to his ear, pressing the small communication device he wore. When he spoke again, his words were directed elsewhere. Security. Ground floor elevator. Now. Kelvin's eyes widened with recognition, not of the man standing before him, but of what that earpiece meant. Authority. Power. The kind of person who could make real trouble. Look, man, Kelvin said, forcing his voice into something approaching reasonable. This is just a misunderstanding between me and Maya. We've got history. She's confused right now, but we just need to talk it out, privately. Miss Maya, Ethan said without turning around, without taking his eyes off Kelvin for even a second. Do you want to talk to this man privately? No, Maya whispered. Do you want to talk to him at all? No. Has this man ever hurt you? Silence. Heavy, damning silence. Maya's breath hitched, and even though Ethan couldn't see her face, he heard the answer in that broken sound. His entire demeanor changed. The polite civility evaporated, replaced by something cold and sharp as winter steel. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet, but it carried across the lobby like a blade. Is this man bothering you, Miss Maya? Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, he is. Ethan's eyes never left Kelvin's face. You need to leave. Now. Or what? Kelvin demanded, his temper finally breaking through his attempted charm. You think you can tell me what to do? You think just because you work here? I don't work here, Ethan said simply. I own here. I'm Ethan Ward. This is my hotel. And you're trespassing. The color drained from Kelvin's face as recognition finally hit. Ethan Ward, the billionaire. The man whose face was on the cover of business magazines, who'd built an empire of luxury hotels across 3 continents, the man whose lawyers could destroy someone like Kelvin without breaking a sweat. I didn't, Kelvin stammered. Security, Ethan said again into his earpiece, his tone now edged with steel. Where are you? Right here, Mr. Ward. 3 security guards appeared from different corners of the lobby, moving with practiced efficiency. The head of security, a former police officer named Rodriguez, assessed the situation in seconds. This man is harassing one of our employees, Ethan said. He's to be escorted off the property immediately, and Rodriguez makes sure he understands he's not welcome back. Ever. If he sets foot on this property again, we're pressing charges for trespassing. Understood, sir, Rodriguez said. He and his team moved toward Kelvin. You can't do this, Kelvin shouted, his face going from pale to red again. Maya, tell them we were together. Tell them I have a right. You have no rights here. Ethan cut him off. His voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. Touch her, approach her, contact her in any way, and I will personally ensure you regret it. My legal team is extremely thorough, Mr. Kelvin Harris, Rodriguez supplied, having already checked the man's ID. Mr. Harris, Ethan continued, consider this your only warning. Stay away from Miss Maya. Stay away from this hotel. Stay away, or face consequences you cannot afford. The security team had Kelvin by both arms now. He struggled, shouting obscenities, making threats he couldn't back up. Other guests watched in shocked silence as he was dragged toward the exit, his voice echoing across the elegant lobby until the doors closed behind him. The silence that followed felt thick and heavy. Ethan turned slowly, finding Maya still in the elevator, pressed against the back wall, her face streaked with tears. She was staring at him like he was something impossible, something that couldn't possibly be real. He's gone, Ethan said softly, his hard expression melting into concern. You're safe now. And that's when Maya broke, not with fear this time, but with something else entirely. Relief, gratitude, the overwhelming realization that for the first time in longer than she could remember, someone had stood up for her. Someone had put themselves between her and danger. Someone had made her safety matter more than convenience, more than avoiding a scene, more than staying uninvolved. Someone had finally chosen her. The sobs came hard and fast. 2 years of held breath finally released. Her legs gave out, and she would have collapsed if Ethan hadn't moved forward. catching her shoulders gently, steadying her. "Hey," he said quietly. "Hey, it's okay. You're okay now." "I'm sorry," Maya gasped between sobs. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't. I didn't mean to. Your elevator, your lobby. I made such a scene." "Stop," Ethan said firmly but kindly. "You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. Do you understand me? Whatever happened between you and that man, whatever history you have, you did nothing wrong by being afraid. You did nothing wrong by running. And you sure as hell did nothing wrong by surviving." Maya looked up at him through her tears, and for the first time that night, for the first time in years, she felt something shift inside her, something small but significant, the tiniest seed of hope that maybe, just maybe, not everyone would hurt her, not everyone would let her down. "Thank you," she whispered. Ethan smiled, and it was nothing like Kelvin's smile, nothing like the expression she'd learned to fear. This smile was warm, genuine, and safe. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you somewhere quiet. You shouldn't be alone right now." Ethan's private office occupied the entire 23rd floor penthouse suite of the Grand Meridian. Maya had never been this high in the building before. As a housekeeper, her world consisted of guest floors, service elevators, supply closets, and the break room in the basement. This level might as well have existed on another planet. The elevator opened directly into a reception area that was empty at this hour. Soft lighting, illuminated modern furniture, abstract art on the walls, floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city at night. Ethan guided her through the space with a gentle hand on her shoulder, nothing possessive, nothing threatening, just the barest touch to let her know she wasn't alone. His actual office was beyond a set of double doors. The space was enormous, a massive desk positioned before windows that showcased the glittering skyline, built-in bookshelves lined with both business volumes and what looked like classic literature, a sitting area with plush leather furniture, and in the corner, a full bar and small kitchenette. "Sit anywhere you'd like," Ethan said, gesturing to the sitting area. "I'll get you some water, or tea, coffee." "Water is fine," Maya said quietly. She perched on the edge of one of the leather chairs, acutely aware of how out of place she looked. Her cleaning uniform, a simple navy blue polo and black pants, was rumpled from her earlier panic. Her hair had escaped its ponytail, hanging in messy waves around her face. She probably looked like a disaster. She felt like a disaster. Ethan returned with a bottle of water and a glass filled with ice. He handed them to her, then surprised her by sitting not behind his imposing desk, but in the chair across from her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Take your time," he said. "There's no rush." Maya opened the water bottle with shaking hands, poured some into the glass, and took a long drink. The cool liquid helped ground her, pulled her back from the edge of panic. She focused on breathing, in through her nose, out through her mouth. The technique her therapist had taught her during those first few months after leaving Kelvin. "I should explain," she finally said. "You don't have to." "I want to," Maya insisted. She needed him to understand that she wasn't crazy, wasn't dramatic, wasn't the kind of person who made scenes in hotel lobbies. That man, Kelvin, we were together 3 years ago. For almost 18 months. Ethan listened without interrupting, his expression neutral but attentive. "At first he was amazing," Maya continued, staring at the water glass in her hands. "Charming, attentive, romantic. He made me feel special, like I was the center of his universe. I'd never had anyone pay attention to me like that. My parents died when I was 19. Car accident. I didn't have siblings, didn't have a big support system. Kelvin, he filled that void, made me feel less alone." She paused, gathering courage for the harder parts. "But then things changed, slowly at first. He'd get jealous if I talked to other guys, even cashiers or waiters. He didn't like my friends, said they were a bad influence. One by one, I stopped seeing them, stopped returning calls. He'd check my phone, needed to know where I was all the time. And I thought it meant he loved me, that he cared so much he couldn't bear to lose me." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. "The first time he hit me, he cried afterward," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Apologized over and over, said he didn't know what came over him, blamed stress from work, promised it would never happen again, and I believed him, because I wanted to believe him, because I didn't want to admit that I'd chosen wrong, that I'd let someone like him into my life." A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, but it did happen again. And again. The verbal abuse became constant. I was stupid, worthless. Lucky he even stayed with me. No one else would want me. I was damaged goods. He controlled everything, my money, my schedule, my clothes. I wasn't allowed to work, wasn't allowed to leave the apartment without his permission, and when I didn't obey, she trailed off, the memories too painful to speak aloud. 2 years ago, Maya continued after a moment, he put me in the hospital. 3 broken ribs, a concussion, bruises covering half my body. The doctor who treated me was kind. She gave me resources, phone numbers for shelters and support groups. She told me that if I went back, he would eventually kill me. Not might, would. That's when I knew I had to leave. How did you get away? Ethan asked quietly. I waited until he went to work, Maya said. Packed 1 bag with whatever I could carry. Took a bus to a women's shelter 3 cities over. Stayed there for 4 months while I got back on my feet. A counselor at the shelter helped me find this job, this apartment. I changed my phone number, deleted all social media, told the few people from my old life that I was moving overseas for work. I basically disappeared. And it worked, Ethan said. For 2 years, Maya nodded. I thought I was safe. I really thought I'd gotten away. But tonight, her voice broke. I looked up and he was just there, standing in the hallway, smiling at me, like no time had passed, like he owned me. He doesn't own you, Ethan said firmly. I know that in my head, Maya replied, but my body doesn't always believe it. The moment I saw him, I was right back there, helpless, terrified, unable to breathe. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her story hanging between them. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Of course. Why did you help me? You don't know me. For all you knew, I could have been the problem. I could have been the crazy ex-girlfriend stalking him. Ethan leaned back in his chair, considering his answer carefully. I've spent my entire adult life reading people, he said finally. It's how I built my business, understanding what people need, what they fear, what drives them. And when you ran into that elevator, Maya, I didn't see someone being dramatic or unreasonable. I saw someone running for their life. Real terror doesn't lie. It can't be faked. And when that man showed up in the lobby, when I saw the way you reacted to him, he shook his head. I knew. I knew exactly what kind of person he was, and I knew you needed help. Most people don't get involved, Maya said quietly. Most people look away. I know, Ethan said, and that's a failure of our society, not a failure of yours. Something in Maya's chest loosened slightly. For so long, she'd carried shame about what happened with Kelvin. Shame that she'd stayed, shame that she hadn't seen the signs earlier, shame that she'd needed help to escape. But sitting here, in this elegant office, with this man who had no reason to care about her, treating her like she mattered, it helped, more than she could express. Have you ever had someone stand up for you when you needed it most? Sometimes that one moment of courage from a stranger can change everything. If this story is resonating with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What happens now? Maya asked. Kelvin knows where I work. He'll come back. No, he won't, Ethan said with absolute certainty. Tomorrow morning, I'm having my legal team file a restraining order on your behalf. We have security footage of tonight's incident. We have multiple witnesses, and we have the resources to make sure that order is enforced. If he comes within 500 feet of you, he goes to jail. I can't afford lawyers, Maya said quickly. I barely make rent as it is. You're not paying for anything, Ethan interrupted. Consider it a company benefit. Employee safety is my responsibility. Besides, he added with a slight smile, my lawyers are on retainer. They're paid whether they work or not. Might as well put them to good use. Maya wanted to argue, to insist she couldn't accept such generosity, but the truth was she was too exhausted and too relieved to refuse. Thank you, she said instead. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You don't have to repay me, Ethan said. Just promise me something. What? Promise me you'll take tomorrow off. Rest. Process. Let yourself breathe. You've been through a trauma tonight. You need time. Maya hesitated. Missing work meant missing pay. But looking at Ethan's concerned expression, she found herself nodding. Okay, I promise. Good. He stood, and Maya followed suit. I'll have my driver take you home. He'll make sure you get inside safely. And Maya, he pulled a business card from his pocket, wrote something on the back, and handed it to her. That's my personal cell number. If Kelvin contacts you, if you feel unsafe at any time, if you need anything at all, you call me, day or night. Understand?" Maya stared at the card, at the elegant printing on the front and the handwritten number on the back. Ethan Ward's personal phone number, something probably worth a fortune to business rivals or gossip magazines, and he was giving it to her, a housekeeper he'd met an hour ago. "I understand," she whispered. As they walked back toward the elevator, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Not quite hope that felt too big, too dangerous to embrace yet, but maybe the possibility of hope, the tiny, fragile sense that her life might not be defined by Kelvin forever, that maybe, just maybe, there were still good people in the world. People who helped without expecting anything in return. People who made you feel safe instead of afraid. The elevator descended through the quiet hotel, and Maya watched Ethan's reflection in the polished doors. He stood with his hands in his pockets, his expression thoughtful but calm. There was something about him, a steadiness, a quiet strength that made her want to trust him, that made her think trusting him might not be a mistake. When they reached the ground floor, Rodriguez was waiting with another security guard. "Mr. Harris has been escorted off property, sir," Rodriguez reported. "We've got his information in the system. If he returns, we'll call the police immediately." "Good," Ethan said. "Please escort Miss Maya to my car. David will drive her home and ensure she gets inside safely." "Yes, sir." Maya turned to face Ethan one more time. In the bright lights of the lobby, she could see him more clearly, sharp features, dark hair slightly mussed from the evening, eyes that were kind and intelligent. He looked like what he was, a powerful man used to commanding respect. But he didn't make her feel small. He made her feel seen. "Mr. Ward," she started. "Ethan," he corrected gently. "Just Ethan." "Ethan," she repeated, the name foreign on her tongue. "Thank you for everything. I don't think I've ever met anyone like you." He smiled, and something about that smile made her heart skip in a way that had nothing to do with fear. "Get some rest, Maya. I'll see you soon." As Rodriguez led her toward the parking garage, Maya looked back once. Ethan stood in the center of the lobby, watching to make sure she left safely. When their eyes met, he nodded once, a small gesture that somehow communicated more than words could, a promise that she wasn't alone anymore, that someone was watching out for her. For the first time in 2 years, Maya allowed herself to believe it might be true. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through her apartment window, and for one blissful moment, forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed over her like a wave, Kelvin's face in the hallway, the desperate sprint to the elevator, Ethan Ward stepping between her and her worst nightmare. She sat up in bed, her heart racing, half convinced it had all been some vivid, stress-induced hallucination. But no. The business card sat on her nightstand, elegant lettering catching the morning light. Ethan Ward, owner and CEO, Grand Meridian Hotel Group, and on the back, in dark blue ink, a phone number written in confident, slanted handwriting. It had really happened. Maya picked up her phone, 11:47 a.m. She never slept this late. Years of early morning shifts had trained her body to wake at 5:30, regardless of when she went to bed. But last night, after Ethan's driver David had ensured she got inside safely, after she'd triple-checked all her locks and windows, after she'd finally convinced herself Kelvin wasn't hiding in her closet or under her bed, she'd collapsed into an exhausted, dreamless sleep. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from her supervisor, Linda, and 2 text messages. The first, "Maya, are you okay? Security said there was an incident last night. Call me when you can." The second, "Mr. Ward personally called to give you the day off. Take care of yourself. We'll talk when you're ready." Mr. Ward personally called. The billionaire owner of the hotel had personally contacted her supervisor to make sure she could rest. Maya's eyes stung with unexpected tears. She'd spent so long being invisible, being nothing more than a name on a work schedule, that having someone, especially someone with Ethan's power and status, actually care about her well-being, felt surreal. She forced herself out of bed, made coffee, and tried to do normal things. Shower, get dressed, eat something, though her stomach rebelled at the thought of food. But normalcy felt impossible when her entire world had shifted on its axis in the span of a few hours. Around 2 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya's heart seized with instant panic. Kelvin had found her new number somehow. Kelvin was calling. Kelvin was. "Hello," she answered, her voice shaking. "Miss Maya, this is Catherine Rodriguez from Ward and Associates Legal. Mr. Ward asked me to reach out to you regarding your situation." Relief flooded through her. "Oh, yes, thank you for calling. I'm so sorry for what you've experienced," Catherine said, her voice warm and professional. "Mr. Ward briefed me on the situation this morning. I'd like to schedule a time for us to meet, if you're comfortable with that. We'll need to go over the details and gather any documentation. You have police reports, medical records, anything that establishes a pattern of harassment or abuse. The more comprehensive our filing, the stronger the restraining order." "I have records," Maya said quietly, "from the hospital 2 years ago. And there were 2 police reports filed during our relationship, though I didn't press charges either time." "That's actually very helpful," Catherine assured her. "Those establish history. Would tomorrow morning work for you? Say, 10 a.m. at our office? No pressure if you need more time." Maya thought about it. Part of her wanted to hide in her apartment forever, pretend last night never happened, pretend Kelvin had never found her. But she knew better. Hiding hadn't worked. Running hadn't worked. Maybe it was time to stop running and start fighting back. "Tomorrow at 10 works," she said. "Excellent. I'll text you the address. And Miss Maya, you're doing the right thing. I know it doesn't feel that way right now, but you are." After they hung up, Maya sat in her small living room, staring at nothing. Her apartment was tiny, a studio, barely 400 square feet, but it was hers. She'd chosen every item carefully with her limited budget. The second-hand couch from a thrift store, the small bookshelf she'd painted white, the plants on the windowsill that she'd managed to keep alive despite her unpredictable schedule. It wasn't much, but it had been her sanctuary, her safe place. Now Kelvin knew where she worked, and if he knew that, how long until he found out where she lived? The thought sent fresh panic through her chest. Maybe she should move, change cities again, start over somewhere new. She'd done it before. She could do it again. But something stopped her. A stubborn, fragile resistance that hadn't been there yesterday. She'd spent 2 years living in fear, looking over her shoulder, waiting for Kelvin to appear. And now that he had, now that the worst had happened, she was still here, still breathing, still alive, and she wasn't alone anymore. Maya picked up Ethan's business card again, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. A man she'd never spoken to before last night had put his resources, his lawyers, his protection between her and her abuser, without hesitation, had given her his personal number, had told her to call if she needed anything. Why would he do that? What did he get out of it? In Maya's experience, people, especially powerful people, didn't help without expecting something in return. Kelvin had taught her that lesson thoroughly. His help always came with strings attached. His generosity always had a price. But when she thought about Ethan's face last night, about the genuine concern in his eyes, about the way he'd spoken to her like she mattered, she couldn't detect any hidden agenda. He'd been kind, protective, present, and then he'd let her leave without asking for anything except a promise to rest. Maybe some people really were just good. The thought felt dangerous, naive, exactly the kind of thinking that had gotten her into trouble with Kelvin in the first place. But maybe there was a difference between blind trust and cautious hope. Maybe she could let herself believe in Ethan's kindness without surrendering her hard-won self-preservation. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Catherine Rodriguez. Looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. Our address is 1247 5th Avenue, Suite 900. Security will have your name at the front desk. Take care." Maya saved the number and typed back a quick thank you. Then, surprising herself, she pulled up Ethan's number and typed a message before she could overthink it. "Mr. Ward, this is Maya. Thank you again for everything last night and for arranging the lawyer. I'm meeting with Catherine tomorrow. I wanted you to know I appreciate what you're doing more than I can express." She hit send before doubt could stop her, then immediately regretted it. He was probably in back-to-back meetings. He probably had 100 more important things to think about than the housekeeper he'd helped last night. He'd probably never even see the... Her phone buzzed. "Please, call me Ethan. And you don't need to thank me, Maya. How are you feeling today?" Maya stared at the screen. He'd responded immediately, and he was asking how she felt, not as a formality, but like he genuinely wanted to know. Honestly, scared, but also relieved, if that makes sense. "I keep expecting Kelvin to show up at my door." The response came quickly. "That's completely understandable. Have you thought about staying somewhere else for a few days, just until the restraining order is in place? I don't really have anywhere to go. My friends from before. I lost touch with all of them. There was a longer pause this time. When Ethan's next message came through, Maya had to read it 3 times to believe it was real. The hotel has corporate apartments we use for extended stay guests and visiting executives. They're empty most of the time. You're welcome to stay in one until you feel safe at home again. No charge, obviously. Just a place where security is tight and Kelvin can't reach you. Maya's hands trembled as she typed, "I can't accept that. That's too much." Why? The simple question stopped her. Why couldn't she accept it? Because she didn't deserve it? Because accepting help made her weak? Because there had to be a catch? "Because I barely know you," she typed. "Because you've already done so much. Because I don't know how I'd ever repay you. You don't need to know me well to accept help when you need it. I haven't done nearly enough, and you don't repay kindness, Maya. That's not how it works." Tears blurred her vision. When was the last time someone had been kind to her without keeping score, without making her feel like she owed them something? She couldn't remember. "Can I think about it?" she typed. "Of course. The offer stands whenever you're ready. In the meantime, if you need anything, and I mean anything, you have my number. Use it. Thank you, Ethan. Rest well, Maya." She set her phone down and let herself cry. Not from fear this time, but from something more complicated. Relief mixed with disbelief. Gratitude mixed with confusion. The overwhelming sensation of being seen, being valued, being treated like she mattered by someone who had no obligation to care. Outside her window, life in the city continued as normal. Traffic hummed, people walked past, the world kept turning. But inside her small apartment, something fundamental had shifted. For the first time in 2 years, Maya allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't defined by hiding. A future where she didn't jump at every unexpected sound. A future where maybe, just maybe, she could be more than a victim. It felt impossible and terrifying and wonderful all at once. Ward and Associates Legal occupied the 9th floor of a glass and steel tower in the financial district. Maya arrived 15 minutes early, her palms sweating as she rode the elevator up. The reception area was all sleek lines and modern art, the kind of space that whispered money and power. Maya, a woman in her 40s, approached with a warm smile. She had dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, kind eyes behind stylish glasses, and a presence that was both professional and genuinely welcoming. "I'm Catherine Rodriguez. Thank you so much for coming." "Thank you for seeing me," Maya said, shaking her hand. Catherine led her to a conference room with windows overlooking the city. Coffee and pastries sat on a side table, thoughtful touches that made Maya feel less like a charity case and more like a valued client. "Before we begin," Catherine said, pouring them both coffee, "I want you to know that everything we discuss is confidential. This is a safe space. You can tell me as much or as little as you're comfortable sharing, and we'll work at your pace. Okay?" Maya nodded, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. Over the next 2 hours, Catherine walked her through the process of obtaining a restraining order. She asked questions, some easy, some harder, and took detailed notes without judgment. When Maya pulled out the hospital records she'd kept from 2 years ago, Catherine's expression hardened. 3 broken ribs, she read quietly. Concussion, extensive bruising. The attending physician noted that injuries were consistent with intimate partner violence. She looked up at Maya. "You're incredibly brave for leaving. Many women don't." "I didn't feel brave," Maya admitted. "I felt like a coward for not leaving sooner." "That's the abuse talking, not reality," Catherine said firmly. "On average, it takes a woman 7 attempts to permanently leave an abusive relationship. The fact that you got out and stayed out for 2 years, that's extraordinary strength." Something in Maya's chest loosened slightly. She'd spent so long blaming herself for staying, for not seeing the signs, for believing Kelvin's apologies. Hearing Catherine reframe her escape as strength rather than weakness helped more than she'd expected. "The good news," Catherine continued, "is that we have substantial documentation. The hospital records, the police reports, security footage from the hotel, witness statements from last night. It all builds a compelling case. The judge will have no trouble granting the order. The harder part is enforcement." "What do you mean?" "A restraining order is a powerful legal tool, but it's still just a piece of paper," Catherine explained. "It only works if Kelvin respects it or fears the consequences of violating it. Some abusers back off immediately. Others see it as a challenge. Based on what you've told me about Kelvin's personality, his need for control, his refusal to accept your departure, I suspect he might fall into the latter category. Fear crept back into Maya's chest. So it won't stop him? It gives us legal recourse to stop him, Catherine clarified. If he violates the order, if he contacts you, approaches you, shows up at your home or workplace, he can be arrested immediately. No warning, no second chances. That's the consequence he needs to understand. And trust me, we're going to make sure he understands it very clearly. Catherine pulled out another document. This is a civil protection order. It's more comprehensive than a basic restraining order. It prohibits Kelvin from contacting you directly or indirectly. No phone calls, texts, emails, social media, or third-party messages. He can't come within 500 feet of you, your home, or your workplace. If he violates it, he faces immediate arrest and potential jail time. When does it go into effect? We're filing today. There will be a hearing within the next 2 weeks where a judge will make it permanent. Kelvin will be served with the temporary order within 72 hours. Once he's served, it's legally binding. Maya felt dizzy with relief and residual fear. What if he comes after me before he's served? Then you call 911 immediately, Catherine said. And you call Ethan. He's made it very clear that your safety is his top priority. The hotel has enhanced security protocols in place specifically because of this situation. At the mention of Ethan's name, something must have shown on Maya's face because Catherine's expression softened. He's a good man, she said quietly. I've worked with him for 5 years now. I've seen him be ruthless in business, demanding with his standards, uncompromising when it comes to his hotels. But I've also seen him stop everything to help someone in need. It's not performative, it's who he is. You can trust him, Maya. Why does he care? Maya asked, voicing the question that had been haunting her. He doesn't know me. I'm nobody to him. I think that's exactly why he cares, Catherine said thoughtfully. Because you're not nobody. You're a person who needed help. And Ethan has a particular sensitivity to abuse and injustice. He grew up with very little. Most people don't know that about him because he doesn't talk about it publicly. But before he built his empire, he was a kid in the foster system. He knows what it's like to be powerless, to need help and not receive it. I think that's why he never hesitates to help when he sees someone in genuine need. The information settled over Maya like a revelation. Ethan Ward, billionaire hotel magnate, had been a foster kid, had known powerlessness and vulnerability. Suddenly, his actions made more sense, not as charity or performance, but as empathy born from lived experience. I didn't know that, Maya said softly. Not many people do, but it might help you understand why he's invested in your safety. This isn't pity, Maya. This is recognition. He sees something in you, strength, resilience, survival, that he recognizes in himself. They spent another hour going over logistics. Catherine explained the court process, what to expect at the hearing, how to document any violations of the order. She gave Maya a folder with copies of all the paperwork and a direct phone line to her office. One more thing, Catherine said as they wrapped up. Ethan mentioned you might benefit from counseling. I know you've probably worked with therapists before, but I have a colleague who specializes in trauma recovery and domestic violence. Her name is Dr. Lisa Chen. She's excellent, and she has availability this week if you're interested. Maya hesitated. She'd done therapy at the shelter 2 years ago, enough to help her escape and get stable, but she'd stopped once she started working. Convincing herself she was fine, she'd dealt with it, she'd moved on. Last night had proven that wrong. Would insurance cover it? Maya asked, already knowing the answer. Her basic employee health plan barely covered routine medical care. Ethan's covering it, Catherine said. Before you protest, he specifically instructed me to tell you this. Healing from trauma is not a luxury, it's essential, and he considers supporting your healing part of ensuring your safety. It's non-negotiable from his end. Maya opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. How did you argue with someone who was so determined to help you? Someone who anticipated your objections before you even voiced them? Okay, she said quietly. I'll meet with Dr. Chen. Catherine smiled and wrote down the contact information. I'm proud of you, Maya. I know this feels overwhelming, but you're doing everything right. You're taking control of your life back. That's powerful. As Maya left the office and stepped back into the bright morning sunshine, She felt something unfamiliar settling into her bones, not quite confidence that still felt too far away. But maybe the beginning of it, the sense that she wasn't helpless anymore, that she had people in her corner, that fighting back was possible. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "How did the meeting go?" "Good," she typed back. "Catherine is amazing. Thank you for arranging everything. I'm glad. Have you eaten today?" The question surprised her. "Not really. There's a cafe called Sunrise 2 blocks from the law office. Best chicken panini in the city. My treat. Tell them to put it on my account." Maya stopped walking. "You don't have to do that. I know. But you need to eat. And I happen to know their food is excellent. Humor me?" She found herself smiling despite everything. "Okay. Thank you." "Good. Enjoy your lunch, Maya." 20 minutes later, sitting in a cozy cafe with the best chicken panini she'd ever tasted and a latte with actual art in the foam, Maya realized something startling. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt taken care of, not controlled, not managed, just cared for, like someone was paying attention to her needs and meeting them without expecting anything in return. It was strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. She pulled out her phone and opened her messages with Ethan. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She wanted to thank him again, but the words felt inadequate. How did you thank someone for giving you your life back? Finally, she typed, "This panini is incredible. Thank you for today. For everything. I don't know why you're being so kind to me, but I'm grateful." His response came a few minutes later. "You don't need to understand it, Maya. Just accept it. Sometimes people help because it's the right thing to do. No other reason necessary." Maya read the message 3 times, each time feeling something crack open inside her chest. The hard shell she'd built around herself, the armor that kept her safe, but also kept her isolated, was beginning to fracture, and instead of terrifying her, it felt like relief. Like maybe it was okay to let someone in, just a little, just enough to remember what connection felt like. Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from nothing? It's one of the hardest things a person can do. But sometimes, when you're at your lowest, that's when the right people appear. If this story is touching your heart, drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The restraining order was granted 3 days later. Catherine called Maya with the news while she was on her break at work, her voice warm with satisfaction. "Judge Harrison granted the full protection order," she said. "Kelvin was served this morning at his apartment. As of 10 a.m. today, it's legally binding. If he comes near you, he goes to jail. No exceptions." Maya's knees went weak with relief. She sat down heavily on the break room couch. Phone pressed to her ear. What did he say? When he was served? According to the process server, he was angry, but not surprised. He signed the acknowledgement, which means he can't claim he didn't know about it. The order is valid for 2 years, at which point we can request an extension if needed. 2 years, Maya repeated. 2 years of legal protection. 2 years where Kelvin couldn't touch her without consequences. It felt like a gift, like breathing room she desperately needed. "How are you holding up?" Catherine asked. "Better," Maya said honestly. "Still scared, but better. I started seeing Dr. Chen yesterday." "That's wonderful. Lisa is excellent. Give yourself time, Maya. Healing isn't linear." After they hung up, Maya sat in the quiet break room, letting the news sink in. She'd done it. She'd stood up to Kelvin legally, officially, with the full weight of the justice system behind her. It wasn't a guarantee of safety. Catherine had been clear about that, but it was a barrier, a line Kelvin couldn't cross without serious consequences. She pulled out her phone and texted Ethan. The restraining order was granted. "Thank you for making this possible." His response was immediate. "That's excellent news. How are you feeling?" "Relieved. A little bit lighter." "Good. That's exactly what I hoped for." "Have you thought any more about the corporate apartment?" Maya had thought about it. A lot. The offer was tempting: a secure building with 24-hour security, no risk of Kelvin showing up at her door, the ability to actually sleep without checking the locks 5 times. But accepting felt like crossing some invisible line, from accepting help to becoming dependent. "I'm still thinking about it," she typed. "Take your time. The offer stands." That was the thing about Ethan that Maya was learning. He never pushed, never made her feel pressured or obligated. He offered help and then stepped back, letting her decide at her own pace. It was so different from Kelvin's controlling nature that it made her head spin. The rest of her shift passed in a blur of routine tasks, changing linens, vacuuming carpets, restocking towels. Normally, Maya found the repetitive work soothing, but today her mind kept drifting. To Ethan, to the restraining order, to the therapy session yesterday where Dr. Chen had asked her what she wanted her life to look like in 5 years, and Maya had realized she'd stopped allowing herself to want anything beyond basic survival. "You look like you're a million miles away," Linda said, catching Maya in the supply closet. Her supervisor was a kind woman in her 50s who'd hired Maya 2 years ago and had always treated her fairly. "Just processing," Maya admitted. "The restraining order came through today." Linda's face flooded with relief. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful news. I've been so worried about you." Security briefed all the supervisors on the situation. "We're all keeping an eye out. Thank you. And thank you for being understanding about everything." "Are you kidding? After what you went through?" Linda shook her head. "Plus, Mr. Ward made it very clear that supporting you was a priority. I've worked here 15 years, Maya. I've never seen him get personally involved with an employee situation before. Whatever happened that night in the elevator, it clearly made an impression." Maya felt heat creep into her cheeks. "He's been very kind." "Kind is one word for it," Linda said with a knowing smile. "Protective is another. The man called me personally to make sure you had the day off, then followed up to check how you were doing when you came back. That's not standard CEO behavior, sweetie." "I think he's just a decent person," Maya said quickly. "Oh, he's definitely that," Linda agreed. "But decent people don't usually give their personal cell number to housekeeping staff. I'm just saying there might be more to his interest than simple kindness." Maya's heart did something complicated in her chest. She'd been carefully not thinking about that possibility, not examining the way her pulse quickened when Ethan texted, not acknowledging how she caught herself looking for him in the hallways, even though she knew he usually worked from his penthouse office, not admitting that she thought about him far more than was appropriate for someone who'd barely known him a week. "It's not like that," Maya insisted. "He's just helping someone who needed help." Linda gave her a look that said she wasn't fooled but wasn't going to push. "Whatever you say, honey. Just don't close yourself off to possibilities, okay? Sometimes good things happen exactly when we need them most." The conversation stayed with Maya for the rest of the day. As she finished her shift and headed toward the employee exit, she found herself taking the long route past the bank of elevators that served the executive floors. It was stupid. Ethan was probably in meetings or working late or doing any of the 1,000 things a CEO did. He wouldn't just be standing in the lobby. Except he was. Maya froze, her breath catching. Ethan stood near the main entrance, deep in conversation with someone who looked like a business associate, expensive suit, leather briefcase, the whole picture. But as if sensing her presence, Ethan looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded lobby. He smiled. Not the polite professional smile he'd been wearing for his companion. Something warmer, something that made Maya's stomach flip. He said something to the man he was with, shook his hand, and then incredibly crossed the lobby toward her. "Maya," he said as he reached her. "Heading home?" "Yes," she stammered, aware of several staff members watching them with curious expressions. "Just finished my shift." "Walk with me?" he asked, gesturing toward the parking garage. Maya's heart raced, but she nodded. They walked in comfortable silence until they reached the garage, away from prying eyes. "I wanted to check on you in person," Ethan said. "Make sure you're really okay." "I am," Maya said. "The restraining order helps. And Dr. Chen is. She's really good. Thank you for arranging that." "You don't have to keep thanking me," Ethan said gently. "I know, but I want to." Maya took a breath, gathering courage. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why are you doing all this? Catherine told me about your past, about the foster system, but that doesn't fully explain why you're going so far out of your way for someone you barely know." Ethan was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "Do you remember what I said to you in my office that first night? That I'm good at reading people?" Maya nodded. "When I saw you in that elevator, terrified and shaking, I saw someone who reminded me of myself at 16, Ethan said. "I was in a bad foster placement at the time. The father was. Let's just say he liked to use his fists. I ran away one night, ended up sleeping in a bus station. A social worker named James found me. He didn't have to help, I wasn't his case, wasn't his responsibility, but he bought me food, got me into a safe placement, checked on me weekly for the next 2 years. When I aged out of the system, He helped me get into community college. Ethan's eyes held memories Maya could see were painful. James showed me that someone could help without expecting anything in return. That kindness didn't have to come with strings attached. He changed the trajectory of my entire life. So when I see someone who needs help, someone who's running from danger like I once was, I think of James. I think about paying forward what he gave me. Tears pricked Maya's eyes. I'm sorry you went through that. Don't be sorry. It made me who I am. Ethan's expression softened. And Maya, you remind me of myself in another way too. You survived something that breaks a lot of people. You rebuilt your life from nothing. You kept going even when it would have been easier to give up. That's not weakness. That's extraordinary strength. I don't feel strong, Maya whispered. Strength isn't about never being afraid, Ethan said. It's about being afraid and choosing to move forward anyway. You do that every day. They stood in the dim parking garage, the city humming around them, and Maya felt something shift between them. Something that went beyond gratitude or kindness. Something that felt like recognition. Like two people who'd been through their own wars seeing each other clearly and thinking maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to fight alone anymore. The corporate apartment, Maya heard herself say. If the offer's still open, I'd like to accept it. Just for a little while. Ethan's smile could have lit the entire garage. Of course, it's still open. When do you want to move in? Is tomorrow too soon? Tomorrow is perfect. The corporate apartment was on the 18th floor of the hotel, technically part of the residential tower that shared the building with the hotel proper. Maya had never been in this section before. While the hotel was elegant, the residential floors were something else entirely. Thick carpets, art on the walls, the quiet that came from serious soundproofing and serious money. Ethan met her in the lobby the next morning, casual in jeans and a dark sweater that made him look less like a CEO and more like someone Maya might have met in an ordinary context. He smiled when he saw her struggling with 2 large suitcases and a box of kitchen items. You should have called, he said, taking the heavier suitcase from her. I would have sent someone to help. I can manage, Maya said automatically, then caught herself. That was old programming, talking Kelvin's voice in her head saying she was weak if she needed help, that asking for assistance made her a burden. She forced herself to add, but thank you. They rode the elevator up in comfortable silence. When the doors opened on 18, Maya gasped. The hallway alone was nicer than most apartments she'd lived in, recessed lighting, fresh flowers on a console table, the kind of quiet that spoke of luxury and privacy. Ethan led her to apartment 1804 and unlocked the door with a keycard, which he handed to her. Your place, he said simply. Maya stepped inside and felt her breath leave her body. The apartment was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of the city, an open-plan living area with a full kitchen, doors leading to what looked like a bedroom and bathroom, furniture in soft neutrals, artwork that was actually good, the kind of space that belonged in a magazine. Ethan, she said, turning to face him, this is too much. It's empty 90% of the time, he said, setting her suitcase down. Might as well be used by someone who needs it. The kitchen is fully stocked. I had my assistant arrange that this morning. Internet password is on the counter. Building security works 24/7. You use the residential elevators, not the hotel, one's fewer people, more privacy. He walked to the windows, pointing out features like he was giving a standard tour, but Maya could see the care in the details. Fresh flowers on the coffee table, coffee pods for the machine, a basket of toiletries in the bathroom visible through the open door. Someone, Ethan, she realized, had thought about what she might need and provided it before she even arrived. Why? She asked quietly. Why do you care so much? Ethan turned to face her fully. In the bright morning light, she could see details she'd missed before: the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the tired lines around his eyes that spoke of long hours and heavy responsibility, the way he looked at her like she was someone worth looking at. Because everyone deserves a safe place to sleep, he said simply. Because you work hard and deserve better than constant fear. Because, he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Because I can help, and if I can help and I don't, what does that make me? It makes you a normal person, Maya said. Most people don't go this far. Maybe they should. They stood there, the space between them charged with something Maya couldn't quite name. It wasn't romantic exactly, though she'd be lying if she said she hadn't noticed how attractive Ethan was, how his smile made her stomach flutter, how safe she felt in his presence. But more than that, It was connection, recognition. Two people who'd been hurt by life, but refused to let it make them hard. "Thank you," Maya said. And this time, she didn't apologize for saying it. Not just for the apartment, for everything, for seeing me. "You're easy to see," Ethan said quietly. "You just have to pay attention." He showed her how to work the various apartment features, the thermostat, the TV system, the fancy coffee maker that had more buttons than her car. He gave her the building security number, showed her the private gym on the 20th floor that residents could use, pointed out the rooftop garden. "One more thing," he said as he prepared to leave. "I'm on the 23rd floor. If you need anything, if you hear something strange, if you just don't want to be alone, you call me. Or just come up. You don't need permission, Maya. You're not bothering me, okay?" She nodded, throat tight with emotion she couldn't quite express. After he left, Maya stood in the center of her temporary new home and slowly turned in a circle. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The city spread out before her like a promise. Everything was clean and beautiful and safe. And she was alone with her thoughts for the first time since everything happened. The tears came without warning, huge, racking sobs that shook her entire body. She sank onto the plush couch and let herself cry, for the girl she'd been before Kelvin, for the years she'd lost to fear, for the fact that a stranger had shown her more kindness in a week than Kelvin had in 18 months, for the overwhelming relief of feeling safe in her own space, but also for something else, something new and fragile and terrifying, hope, the dangerous, wonderful possibility that maybe her life could be different, that maybe she deserved good things, that maybe, just maybe, she could let herself trust again. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Settled in, okay?" Maya wiped her eyes and typed back, "Yes, it's beautiful, thank you. Good. If you want company for dinner tonight, let me know. If you need solitude, that's okay too. No pressure either way." Something about the way he phrased it, giving her the choice, making it clear either answer was acceptable, made fresh tears spring to her eyes. When was the last time someone had asked what she wanted without making her feel bad for her answer? "Dinner sounds nice," she typed before she could overthink it. "But I should probably cook. It's the least I can do. You don't owe me anything, Maya. But if you want to cook, I'd love that. I'll bring wine?" "Perfect." Maya set down her phone and took a shaky breath. She had 6 hours until dinner. 6 hours to unpack, to shower, to cook something that wouldn't embarrass her, to prepare herself for an evening with a man who made her heart race in ways that both excited and terrified her. A man who wasn't Kelvin, who didn't make her feel small or stupid or afraid, who looked at her like she mattered. This was dangerous territory. She knew that. She'd only been free of Kelvin for a week in terms of real safety. Dr. Chen had warned her about rebound relationships, about the danger of confusing gratitude with attraction, about giving herself time to heal before opening her heart to someone new. But the thing was, Ethan didn't feel like a rebound. He felt like something else entirely, something that had nothing to do with Kelvin and everything to do with who Maya wanted to become. The person who didn't hide, who didn't shrink herself to fit into someone else's life, who believed she deserved kindness without strings attached. She pulled out her phone and called Dr. Chen, using the emergency line the therapist had given her for moments like this, moments when her thoughts spiraled and she needed grounding. "Maya?" Dr. Chen answered on the second ring. "What's going on?" "I'm having dinner with Ethan tonight," Maya blurted out. "And I think I might have feelings for him. And I know that's probably a terrible idea, that I should focus on healing, that I'm probably just confusing gratitude with attraction. But, Maya," Dr. Chen interrupted gently. "Take a breath," Maya breathed. "Now, let me ask you something," Dr. Chen continued. "When you think about Ethan, what do you feel?" "Safe," Maya said immediately. "Seen, like he actually cares what I think and feel, like I'm a person to him, not a project or a possession. Does he remind you of Kelvin in any way?" "God, no, the opposite. Kelvin needed to control everything. Ethan keeps giving me choices and respecting my answers. Kelvin made me feel small. Ethan makes me feel capable, like I can handle things. Those are important differences," Dr. Chen said. "Maya, having feelings isn't wrong. Acting on them before you're ready would be. Can you make me a promise?" "What?" "Take it slow. Let yourself have dinner with him. Let yourself enjoy his company. But don't rush into anything physical or commit to anything serious until we've worked through more of your trauma. You're still healing. That doesn't mean you have to isolate yourself, but it does mean you need to be mindful of your boundaries. I can do that, Maya said, relief flooding through her. Permission to have feelings without requiring herself to act on them immediately. It was exactly what she needed to hear. Good. And Maya, it's okay to let yourself be happy. You don't have to punish yourself for what happened with Kelvin by denying yourself connection now. You just need to be smart about how you move forward. After they hung up, Maya felt steadier. She could do this. She could have dinner with Ethan, enjoy his company, let herself feel whatever she felt without overthinking it. She could take it slow. She could protect herself while also allowing herself to live. She spent the afternoon unpacking and preparing dinner, nothing fancy, just chicken piccata with pasta and a simple salad. Comfort food that she actually knew how to cook well. She showered, changed into jeans and a soft blue sweater that Linda had complimented once, and tried not to obsess over her reflection. At 7 p.m. exactly, there was a knock on her door. Maya opened it to find Ethan standing there, holding a bottle of wine and a bouquet of sunflowers. "You said you liked sunflowers," he said with a slightly sheepish smile. "That day in the parking garage?" I remembered. Maya's heart squeezed. She had mentioned sunflowers, a passing comment about how they reminded her of summer and better times. The fact that he'd remembered, that he'd paid attention to such a small detail, meant more than he probably knew. "They're perfect," she said, taking them. "Come in." Dinner was easy in a way Maya hadn't expected. Ethan was funny, genuinely funny, with a dry sense of humor that caught her off guard and made her laugh. He asked questions about her life before Kelvin, seemed genuinely interested in her childhood, her parents, the dreams she'd had before everything went wrong. "I wanted to be a teacher," Maya found herself admitting over pasta. "Elementary school. I loved kids, loved the idea of shaping young minds. I was 2 years into my education degree when I met Kelvin." "What happened to the degree?" "He convinced me to drop out," Maya said quietly. "Said I didn't need to work because he'd take care of me. That my place was at home, not in some classroom with other people's kids. At the time, I thought he was being romantic, protective. I didn't realize he was cutting off my independence." Ethan's expression darkened, but his voice remained gentle. "Would you want to go back? Finish it?" Maya blinked, surprised by the question. She hadn't let herself think about it in years. "I don't know. I'm 28 now. I'd be starting over. And the cost." "The cost is just money," Ethan said. "And money is just a resource. If teaching is what you want to do, what you're passionate about, then the cost is irrelevant." "Easy to say when you have money," Maya said, then immediately regretted it. "I'm sorry. That came out wrong." "No. You're right," Ethan said with a rueful smile. "It is easy for me to say. But let me put it differently. What if money wasn't an obstacle? What if you could wave a magic wand and have any life you wanted? What would it look like?" Maya set down her fork, considering. For so long, she'd trained herself not to want anything beyond survival. Wanting things meant disappointment, meant vulnerability, meant giving someone else the power to take those things away. But sitting here, in this beautiful apartment, with a man who looked at her like her dreams mattered, she let herself imagine. "I'd finish my degree," she said slowly. "I'd get my teaching certification. I'd work with kids who needed someone to believe in them, kids from broken homes or bad situations. Kids like you were, kids like I felt like sometimes." Her voice grew stronger. "I'd have a small apartment that was really mine, nothing fancy, just a place where I felt safe. I'd have friends again, real friends, not just co-workers. And maybe," she trailed off. "Maybe what?" Ethan prompted gently. "Maybe I'd let myself fall in love again," Maya whispered. "The right way this time, with someone who saw me as an equal, someone who made me feel strong instead of small." The air between them shifted, charged with unspoken words. Ethan's eyes held hers across the table, and Maya saw something there that made her breath catch. Interest, care, something deeper than simple kindness. "Those are good dreams," Ethan said quietly. "Worth pursuing. They feel impossible." "So did everything I built," Ethan said. "When I was 17, living in a group home, working night shifts at a gas station to save money for community college, a hotel empire seemed impossible. But impossible just means it hasn't been done yet. It doesn't mean it can't be done." They talked for hours. about dreams and fears and the strange paths life took. Ethan told her about his early years building his business, the failed ventures, the loans he could barely repay, the nights he slept in his office because he couldn't afford an apartment and office space. Maya shared more about her parents, about the girl she'd been before loss and abuse had reshaped her. The wine bottle emptied. The city lights glittered outside the windows, and slowly, carefully, Maya felt something inside her unfurl, something that had been closed tight for years. Not love, it was too soon for that, too fragile. But the possibility of love, the sense that maybe, with the right person, vulnerability didn't have to equal danger. "I should go," Ethan said eventually, though he made no move to stand. "It's late." "It is," Maya agreed, but she didn't want him to leave, didn't want this evening, this bubble of safety and connection to end. Ethan stood, helping her clear the dishes despite her protests. At the door, he paused, seeming to wrestle with something. "Maya," he said, "I need to be honest with you about something." Her stomach dropped. Here it was, the catch, the thing he wanted in return. "I like you," Ethan said simply. "Not as a charity case or a project or someone I'm helping. As a person, as someone I enjoy spending time with, someone I think about when I'm in boring meetings, someone who makes me want to be around them." Maya's heart hammered. "Ethan, I'm not asking for anything," he continued quickly. "I know the timing is terrible. I know you're still healing, and the last thing you need is someone complicating your life. But I needed you to know. So there's honesty between us. So you understand that my help isn't some neutral third-party assistance. I care about you. And if that makes you uncomfortable, if you need space, I'll respect that completely." Maya stared at him, her mind racing. She should be afraid, should be pulling back, should be protecting herself from the risk of getting hurt again. But instead, she felt relieved. Like a question she hadn't known how to ask had been answered. "It doesn't make me uncomfortable," she heard herself say, "because I like you too, and that terrifies me. Because the last time I liked someone, it nearly destroyed me." "I'm not him," Ethan said softly. I know you're not. But my brain doesn't always know the difference between past danger and present safety. Dr. Chen says I need to take things slow, to not rush into anything until I'm more healed. Then we take things slow," Ethan said without hesitation. "We have dinners like this, we talk, we get to know each other, and we let whatever this is develop at a pace that feels safe for you. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility." Tears pricked Maya's eyes. "Why are you so understanding?" "Because healing isn't linear," Ethan said, echoing Catherine's words from days ago. "Because you're worth waiting for, and because rushing would ruin something that could be really good." He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, giving her time to pull back if she wanted. When she didn't, he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the gentlest touch, there and gone in a heartbeat. "Good night, Maya," he said. "Good night, Ethan." After he left, Maya leaned against the closed door, her heart racing for entirely different reasons than when Kelvin had chased her into that elevator. This wasn't fear. This was anticipation, hope, the terrifying, wonderful sensation of standing at the edge of something new and choosing to take a step forward instead of running away. She pulled out her phone and texted him, "Thank you for tonight, for your honesty, for being patient with me." His response came quickly, "Thank you for letting me in. Sleep well." Maya looked around her temporary home, the soft lighting, the comfortable furniture, the windows that showed her a world full of possibility instead of danger. For the first time in years, she let herself believe that good things could happen, that healing was possible, that maybe, just maybe, her story didn't have to be defined by the worst thing that ever happened to her. She could write new chapters, better chapters, chapters where she was the hero of her own story instead of the victim. And maybe, if she was very brave, those chapters would include someone who saw her clearly and chose her anyway. The next 3 weeks developed a rhythm that felt both unfamiliar and wonderful. Maya worked her shifts at the hotel, went to therapy twice a week, and slowly rebuilt her life with Ethan as a steady, supportive presence. They fell into an easy routine. Coffee together before her morning shifts, when Ethan would show up at her apartment with 2 lattes and croissants from the hotel's restaurant. Dinners 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes in her apartment, sometimes in his, occasionally at quiet restaurants where Ethan knew the owners and could get them a private corner table. They talked. About everything. About nothing. Ethan shared stories about building his business, about the mistakes he'd made, about the loneliness that came with success. Maya opened up about her childhood, about her parents' death, about the slow process of learning to trust her own judgment again. And slowly, carefully, they touched, a hand on her shoulder when he arrived, his fingers brushing hers when he handed her coffee, the way he'd tuck her hair back when it fell in her face. Small, gentle contacts that Maya initiated half the time, testing her own boundaries, learning that touch didn't have to mean control. Kelvin hadn't contacted her. The restraining order, it seemed, had worked. Or maybe it was the knowledge that Ethan Ward's lawyers were watching. Either way, Maya began to relax incrementally, started sleeping through the night, stopped checking the locks obsessively, began to reclaim pieces of herself she thought Kelvin had destroyed forever. "You seem lighter," Dr. Chen observed during one of their sessions. "How are you feeling?" "Better," Maya admitted. "Scared sometimes still, but better. Like I'm remembering who I was before everything went wrong." "And how are things with Ethan?" Maya felt heat creep into her cheeks. "Good. We're taking it slow like you suggested. But it's really good. He makes me feel seen in a way I've never experienced before." "Can you tell me more about that?" "He listens," Maya said. "Like, really listens. Not just waiting for his turn to talk, but genuinely interested in what I think and feel. And he remembers things, small details I mention in passing. Last week, I mentioned missing my mom's lasagna recipe, and 3 days later he showed up with a cookbook from a chef who specializes in traditional Italian comfort food. That's thoughtful." "It is, but it's more than that. It's the way he asks my opinion on things, what I think about a book he's reading, how I feel about current events, whether I prefer morning or evening shifts. With Kelvin, my preferences didn't matter. Everything revolved around what he wanted, but Ethan treats my thoughts and feelings as if they're valuable, as if I'm valuable." Dr. Chen smiled. "You are valuable, Maya." "It sounds like Ethan recognizes that." "I think he does," Maya said softly. "And that scares me almost as much as it excites me. Because what if I'm wrong? What if I'm missing warning signs again? What if—" "Let me stop you there, Doctor," Chen said gently. "It's natural to be cautious after what you experienced. But tell me this, has Ethan shown any controlling behaviors? Has he tried to isolate you from others? Has he ever raised his voice or made you feel afraid?" "No," Maya said immediately. "The opposite. He encouraged me to reconnect with one of my old friends from before Kelvin. He suggested I join the hotel's employee social committee so I could meet more people. And when I told him I needed space last week because I was feeling overwhelmed, he respected it completely. Didn't push, didn't make me feel guilty. Just said to call when I was ready. Those are all healthy behaviors, Doctor," Chen noted. "Very different from what you described with Kelvin. Maya, I can't tell you whether Ethan is the right person for you. Only you can determine that. But I can tell you that from what you're describing, he's showing you respect, patience, and genuine care. Those are good foundations, so I'm not crazy for having feelings for him." "You're not crazy at all. You're human. And part of healing is allowing yourself to connect with others again. Just keep checking in with yourself. Keep being honest about your feelings and boundaries. And if something ever feels off, trust your instincts. You've learned to recognize danger. Trust that you'll know if it appears again." That conversation echoed in Maya's mind as she prepared for another dinner with Ethan that evening. They'd fallen into a pattern where she cooked twice a week and he cooked twice a week, a balance that felt equal and comfortable. Tonight was her night, and she'd decided to try something ambitious, the lasagna her mother used to make. She was layering noodles and ricotta when her phone rang. Unknown number. Her heart seized Kelvin, maybe, calling from a different phone, but she forced herself to answer. "Hello? Maya? It's Jenna." Maya nearly dropped the phone. Jenna, her best friend from before Kelvin. They'd been inseparable in college, but Kelvin had slowly pushed her away until they stopped speaking entirely. "Jenna?" Maya's voice cracked. "How did you get this number?" "I never stopped looking for you," Jenna said, her voice thick with emotion. "When you disappeared, I tried everything. Social media, mutual friends, even a private investigator at one point. Then yesterday, I got a message from someone named Ethan Ward. He said you'd been trying to find me too, that you were safe now, and that if I wanted to reconnect, here was your number." Tears flooded Maya's eyes. Ethan had done this. had somehow tracked down her best friend and reached out, had known how much it would mean without making a big deal of it. "Jenna, I'm so sorry," Maya sobbed. "I should have called. I should have explained. But I was so ashamed, and I thought—" "Stop," Jenna interrupted. "You have nothing to be ashamed of. Ethan told me what happened. Not details, just that you'd been in a bad situation and needed to disappear for safety. Maya, I'm so sorry. I should have pushed harder when you started pulling away. I should have known something was wrong." "You couldn't have known," Maya said. "I hid it well." "Can I see you?" Jenna asked. "Are you safe now? Can we meet?" "Yes," Maya said without hesitation. "Yes, I'd love that." They made plans for coffee the next day, and after they hung up, Maya stood in her kitchen, overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. Ethan had given her back her best friend, had taken the time to find someone from her past because he knew how much it mattered, had done it quietly, without fanfare, just because it was the right thing to do. When he arrived for dinner an hour later, Maya didn't say anything at first. She just stepped forward and hugged him, the first real hug she'd initiated. Ethan went, still with surprise, then carefully wrapped his arms around her. "Thank you," Maya whispered against his chest. "For Jenna, for finding her, for giving me back something I thought I'd lost forever." "You're welcome," Ethan said quietly. "Everyone needs their people, Maya. I just helped reconnect you with yours." She pulled back to look at him, this man who kept doing impossible, wonderful things without expecting anything in return. "How did you even find her?" "I have a good research team," Ethan said with a small smile. "And you'd mentioned her name a few times. Jenna Martinez, college roommate, art history major. It wasn't that hard once I had the basic details. Most people wouldn't go to that trouble." "I'm not most people." His eyes held hers. "And you're not just anyone to me, Maya. I thought we'd established that." They had. God, they really had. And standing here, looking at this man who'd given her safety and space and friendship, and now this her best friend back, Maya, felt something crack open in her chest. Something she'd kept locked away since Kelvin. Something terrifying and beautiful. She was falling in love with Ethan Ward. The realization should have panicked her, should have sent her running. But instead, it felt right, natural, like the most inevitable thing in the world. "Thank you," she said again, because words felt inadequate for everything she was feeling. Ethan smiled and tucked her hair back, that gesture she'd come to love. "Come on, let's see if this lasagna lives up to your mum's legacy." It did, or close enough that Maya found herself crying over dinner, overwhelmed by memory and loss and gratitude all at once. Ethan let her cry, didn't try to fix it or make it stop, just sat beside her and held her hand until the storm passed. "I miss them," Maya said finally. "My parents, they would have liked you." "I wish I could have met them," Ethan said. "They would have seen through me," Maya continued. "Would have known I was with Kelvin before I admitted it to myself. My mom had good instincts about people. She always said to watch how someone treats waiters and animals and anyone they have power over. That tells you who they really are." "Smart woman." "She was." Maya wiped her eyes. "What about your parents? You've never really talked about them." Ethan's expression shuttered slightly. "Not much to tell. My mom was 17 when she had me. Addiction issues. She tried, but she wasn't equipped to be a parent. I went into the system when I was 4. She died of an overdose when I was 9. I never knew my father." "I'm sorry," Maya said, squeezing his hand. "Don't be." "I'm not." Ethan's voice was matter of fact, but Maya could hear the old pain underneath. "The foster system was hard, but it taught me resilience, how to rely on myself, how to fight for what I wanted. And people like James showed me that family isn't just biology, it's who shows up for you." "Is that why you show up for people?" Maya asked. "Because James showed up for you?" "Partly," Ethan admitted, "but also because I know what it's like to need help and not get it, to feel invisible, to think you don't matter. I never want anyone to feel that way if I can prevent it." They cleaned up together, a comfortable domestic routine that felt significant in its ordinariness. As they washed dishes side by side, Maya caught herself smiling. This was what she'd wanted all along, this easy partnership, this sense of being teammates instead of adversaries. With Kelvin, even simple tasks had been minefields. With Ethan, everything felt safe. "What are you thinking?" Ethan asked, catching her smile. "That I'm happy," Maya said honestly, "really happy. For the first time in years." Ethan set down the dish he was drying and turned to face her fully. "Good," he said softly. "You deserve to be happy, Maya. So do you." "I am," he said, and the way he looked at her made it clear why. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Maya's heart raced, but not from fear, from anticipation, from the wanting that had been building slowly over these weeks. "Ethan," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Will you kiss me?" His eyes widened slightly. "Are you sure? I don't want to rush you or—" "I'm sure," Maya interrupted. "I've been thinking about it for days, and I'm ready. If you want to." "If I want to," Ethan repeated with a soft laugh. "Maya, I've wanted to kiss you since that first dinner, but only if you're absolutely certain." "I'm certain." Ethan stepped closer, moving slowly, giving her time to change her mind. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. "Tell me to stop if you need to." "I won't need to," Maya whispered. He kissed her softly, carefully, like she was something precious that might break. His lips were warm and gentle, and the kiss tasted like promise and patience and all the good things Maya had stopped believing in. She melted into it, her hands coming up to rest on his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing as fast as hers. When they pulled apart, both breathless, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Okay?" he asked. "More than okay," Maya said. "Perfect." They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped up in each other, in the quiet safety of new beginnings. And Maya thought that maybe, just maybe, some stories did have happy endings after all. If this story is touching your heart, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. Sometimes, love finds us exactly when we're ready to receive it. 3 weeks of peace shattered on a Tuesday morning. Maya was finishing her shift, pushing her cleaning cart toward the service elevator, when she saw him, Kelvin, standing at the end of the hallway, smiling that terrible smile. Her blood turned to ice. He wasn't supposed to be here. The restraining order, 500 feet. This violated everything. "Maya," he called out, his voice echoing down the empty corridor. "We need to talk." Maya's hands shook as she fumbled for her phone, but before she could dial, Kelvin started walking toward her. "Don't come any closer," Maya said, her voice stronger than she felt. "You're violating the restraining order. I'm calling security." "Security?" Kelvin laughed. "You think security's going to help you? You think your rich boyfriend's going to save you? He's not always going to be around, Maya. Eventually, you'll be alone, and I'll be waiting." Fear flooded through her, but underneath it, something else stirred. Anger. She'd spent 2 years running from this man, had rebuilt her life from nothing, had finally found happiness again, and he thought he could just show up and take it away? "No," Maya said firmly, still backing toward the elevator. "You don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to scare me. You don't get to control me. I'm done being afraid of you." "You'll never be done," Kelvin snarled, his mask slipping. "You're mine, Maya. You'll always be mine." "I was never yours," Maya shot back. "You just convinced me I was. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm stronger than you now." She hit the elevator button, phone in her other hand, already dialing security. Kelvin lunged forward and found himself face to face with Ethan Ward, who'd appeared from a nearby stairwell. "I believe the lady asked you to leave," Ethan said, his voice deadly calm. "You," Kelvin spat. "This is your fault. You turned her against me." "No," Ethan said. "You did that yourself. Security is on their way. You have 2 choices. Leave now or get arrested. Your call." "I'm not afraid of you," Kelvin said, but Maya could hear the uncertainty in his voice. Ethan was taller, calmer, and radiated the kind of controlled power that came from actual confidence, not fake bravado. "You should be," Ethan said quietly, "because I've spent 3 weeks documenting every violation of the restraining order, every attempt to contact Maya. Every time you've shown up where you shouldn't be. My lawyers have been building a case, and now, thanks to the security cameras recording this conversation, we have everything we need to put you in jail." Kelvin's face went pale. "I didn't—" "Save it for the judge," Ethan cut him off. "Rodriguez?" Security appeared from 3 directions simultaneously, clearly having been waiting for Ethan's signal. They surrounded Kelvin, who suddenly looked much smaller and less threatening than he had moments ago. "This man is in violation of a court-ordered restraining order," Ethan said formally. "I want him arrested and charged. Miss Maya will press charges." "Yes," Maya said, stepping forward. Her voice didn't shake, Her hands were steady. "I'm pressing charges for harassment, stalking, and violating the restraining order. I want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Kelvin stared at her, shocked. "Maya, you don't mean that. I'm sorry. I'll leave you alone. Just don't." "Too late," Maya said. "You had years to be sorry, years to treat me with respect and kindness. You chose violence. You chose control. You chose to make me afraid. Now you get to face the consequences." Police arrived within minutes. Rodriguez had called them the moment Kelvin appeared on hotel cameras. They handcuffed Kelvin, read him his rights, and led him away, still protesting. The moment he was gone, Maya's knees gave out. Ethan caught her, holding her steady as adrenaline drained from her system. "You did it," he said softly. "You stood up to him." "I did," Maya whispered, amazed. "I really did. I'm so proud of you." They stood there in the hallway, Maya's face pressed against Ethan's chest, his arms wrapped securely around her. For the first time since leaving Kelvin 2 years ago, Maya felt truly free, not just physically safe, but emotionally liberated. She'd faced her monster and survived. More than survived, she'd won. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now Catherine and her team make sure Kelvin faces real consequences," Ethan said. "With this violation, combined with everything else, he's looking at serious jail time, and when he gets out, there will be permanent restraining orders. He won't be able to come near you ever again." "It's really over," Maya said, testing the words. They felt strange and wonderful. "It's really over," Ethan confirmed. The trial took place 6 weeks later. Maya sat in the courtroom, Ethan on one side and Jenna on the other, watching as the prosecutor laid out Kelvin's crimes. The violations of the restraining order, the documented harassment, the history of abuse backed up by medical records and police reports. Kelvin's lawyer tried to paint him as a man who'd simply loved too much, who'd made mistakes out of passion. Catherine demolished that narrative with cold, hard facts. She presented the security footage of him cornering Maya in the hotel hallway, text messages he'd sent from burner phones, evidence of him following her to her therapy appointments. When it was Maya's turn to testify, she walked to the stand with her head high. She told her story clearly, without shame or hesitation, described the abuse, the escape, the 2 years of fear, and then she described how Kelvin had violated every boundary, every legal protection, because he couldn't accept that she was no longer his to control. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Kelvin to 18 months in prison, followed by 5 years of probation and a permanent restraining order. When he was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, he looked smaller somehow, less like the monster who'd haunted Maya's nightmares, and more like what he really was, a sad, angry man who'd lost everything because he couldn't control his need to control others. Maya felt no satisfaction in his downfall, but she felt relief and closure, and the absolute certainty that this chapter of her life was finally, truly, finished. Outside the courthouse, Catherine hugged her tightly. "You were amazing in there, strong and clear and unshakable. That jury saw exactly what kind of man he was and what kind of woman you are." "Thank you," Maya said, "for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." "Yes, you could have," Catherine said firmly. "You had the strength all along. We just provided the tools." Ethan was waiting by his car, respectful of giving Maya and Catherine their moment. When Maya walked toward him, he smiled, that warm, genuine smile that still made her heart skip. "It's over," she said. "It is," he confirmed. "How do you feel?" "Free," Maya said. "Really, truly free." "Good." Ethan opened the car door for her. "Because I have a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" "The kind you need to wait for." They drove through the city, Jenna following in her own car at Ethan's insistence. When they pulled up to a building Maya didn't recognize, she gave Ethan a questioning look. "Trust me," he said. Inside was a conference room where several people waited. Catherine, Dr. Chen, Linda from the hotel, and a woman Maya didn't recognize. "Maya," Ethan said, "this is Dr. Patricia Warren. She's the Dean of Education at City University." Maya's confusion must have shown because Dr. Warren smiled warmly and stepped forward. "Mr. Ward contacted me several weeks ago about your situation," she said. "He explained that you'd left your education degree incomplete due to extenuating circumstances. I've reviewed your academic record from your previous institution. Your grades were excellent, and Mr. Ward has established a scholarship specifically for adult learners returning to education after life disruptions. Maya's breath caught. I don't understand. You've been accepted into our education program, Doctor, Warren continued. With a full scholarship covering tuition, books, and living expenses. If you choose to accept, you can start next semester. You're about a year away from completing your degree and getting your teaching certification. Tears flooded Maya's eyes. Ethan, don't thank me yet, Ethan said quietly. I'm not done. He handed her another folder. Inside was paperwork for an apartment, a small one-bedroom in a safe neighborhood near the university. The corporate apartment was always temporary, Ethan said. But I wanted you to have a place of your own. A real home. This is yours if you want it. No strings. Paid for 2 years, which should see you through graduation and into your first teaching job. I can't accept this, Maya whispered, overwhelmed. It's too much. It's not, Ethan said firmly. It's an investment. In you. In your future. In the amazing teacher you're going to be. But why? Why would you do all this? Ethan took her hands, his expression serious and tender. Because I believe in you, Maya. Because you deserve the life you dreamed of before someone tried to take it away. Because watching you reclaim your power, your voice, your future, it's the most inspiring thing I've ever witnessed. And because, he paused, seeming to gather courage, because I love you, and when you love someone, you want to see them become everything they're capable of being. The room went silent. Maya stared at him, heart pounding, hardly daring to believe what she'd heard. You love me? She whispered. I do, Ethan said simply. I have for weeks now. I didn't say anything because the timing felt complicated, because I didn't want to pressure you, because I wanted you to have time and space to heal. But standing here, watching you finish this chapter and start a new one, I can't not tell you anymore. I love you, Maya, exactly as you are. With all your strength and all your scars, I love you. Maya's tears spilled over, but they weren't sad tears. They were the opposite. Relief, joy, the overwhelming sensation of being seen and loved and valued by someone who knew all her broken pieces and treasured them anyway. I love you too, she said, her voice shaking. I've been so afraid to admit it, afraid it was too soon or too complicated, or that I was confusing gratitude with love. But it's not gratitude, Ethan. It's love, real, genuine love. You make me feel safe and strong and capable. You make me believe I can be the person I always wanted to be, and I love you for that, for everything. Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Around them, people who'd become Maya's support system, her team, her people applauded and wiped their own tears. So, Ethan murmured against her hair, what do you say? Ready to start your next chapter? Maya pulled back to look at him. This man who'd appeared in an elevator on the worst night of her life and somehow become the best thing in it. Yes, she said. I'm ready. Maya stood in front of her first classroom, 23 eager third graders staring at her with varying expressions of curiosity and excitement. It was her student teaching placement, the final requirement before her certification. She'd been nervous that morning, sure she'd forgotten everything, certain she'd fail. But the moment she started teaching, something clicked. This was right. This was what she was meant to do. Okay, everyone, she said, smiling at her students. Today we're going to talk about something important. Being brave, even when you're scared. The lesson went beautifully. Her supervising teacher gave her excellent feedback, and when the final bell rang, Maya felt like she was floating. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. How did it go? Amazing, she typed back. I think I'm actually good at this. I never doubted it for a second. Dinner tonight to celebrate? Your place or mine? Yours. I'm cooking. Maya smiled. Over the past 6 months, they'd settled into a beautiful rhythm. She focused on school and therapy and rebuilding her life. Ethan focused on his business and being a steady, supportive presence. They spent several nights a week together but maintained their own spaces, their own independence. It was healthy and balanced, and everything Maya had never had before. She'd reconnected with more old friends, made new ones in her education program, volunteered at a women's shelter on weekends, helping other survivors navigate their journeys. Her life had become full and rich and purposeful, and through it all, Ethan was there, not hovering or controlling, but present, cheering her successes, holding her through setbacks. being the partner she'd always deserved. That evening, Maya arrived at her apartment to find Ethan already inside. She'd given him a key 3 months ago, a gesture that had terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. He'd set the table with candles and flowers, and something smelled incredible in the oven. "What's all this?" Maya asked, setting down her bag. "A celebration," Ethan said, pulling her into a gentle kiss. "Your first day of student teaching. That's a big deal." "You're making it a bigger deal than it is," Maya protested, but she was smiling. "It's exactly the deal it should be," Ethan countered. "You're doing what you always dreamed of doing. That deserves celebration." Over dinner, chicken marsala that Ethan had clearly worked hard on, Maya told him about her day. The kids who'd been shy at first, but warmed up by lunchtime. The girl who reminded her of herself at that age, quiet and watchful. The boy who struggled with reading but lit up when she gave him extra encouragement. "You're glowing," Ethan observed. "I've never seen you this happy." "I am happy," Maya said, reaching across the table to take his hand. "Happier than I ever thought I could be, and so much of that is because of you. You did the work, Maya. I just cleared some obstacles." "You did more than that," Maya said seriously. "You showed me what healthy love looks like, what partnership means, what it feels like to be with someone who wants me to succeed instead of keeping me small. That's everything, Ethan." His eyes softened. "You've taught me things too, you know, about resilience, about courage, about how strength isn't about never falling apart, it's about putting yourself back together and choosing to keep going. Watching you rebuild your life has been the most humbling experience of mine." They finished dinner and moved to the couch, Maya curled against Ethan's side, his arm around her shoulders. Outside, the city glittered with evening lights. Inside, everything felt warm and safe and perfectly right. "Maya," Ethan said after a comfortable silence, "can I ask you something?" "Always." He shifted slightly, turning to face her more fully. His expression was serious but not worried. "I know we've been taking things slow, and I know you need time to finish school and get settled in your career. I'm not trying to rush anything, but I need you to know something." "What?" Maya's heart picked up speed. "I want a future with you," Ethan said simply. "Not someday in the abstract, a real future. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want to support your dreams and build new ones together. I want everything with you, Maya, and I'm willing to wait as long as you need me to wait. But I wanted you to know where I stand, that I'm all in, completely." Tears sprang to Maya's eyes, the good kind, the kind that came from joy overflowing. "Ethan, you don't have to answer now," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know. No pressure, no timeline, just honesty about what I want." "I want that too," Maya heard herself say. The words came easily, naturally, like they'd been waiting to be spoken. "I want a future with you. I want all of it. And I don't need to wait to know that. You're it for me, Ethan. You're the person I want to build a life with." The smile that spread across Ethan's face was like sunrise. "Yeah, Maya confirmed, laughing through her tears. "I spent so long being afraid of wanting things, of letting myself imagine a happy ending. But with you, I'm not afraid anymore. I know what we have is real. I know you see me clearly and love me anyway. I know I can trust you with my heart and my future, and all the messy, complicated parts of healing that I'm still working through." "I love all those parts," Ethan said, cupping her face gently. "Every single one." He kissed her then, long and deep and full of promise, and Maya kissed him back, pouring all her love and hope and gratitude into it. This was nothing like the fear-soaked relationship with Kelvin. This was partnership. This was choice. This was the kind of love she'd read about in books and seen in movies and thought maybe wasn't real, but it was real. It was right here, in this moment, in this man who'd appeared in an elevator when she needed him most and had never stopped showing up for her since. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Maya rested her forehead against Ethan's. "So," she said with a smile, "what does our future look like?" "Whatever we want it to," Ethan replied. "But if you're asking what I imagine, I see you graduating and getting your teaching certification. I see you in your own classroom, changing kids' lives the way you've changed mine. I see us getting a place together when you're ready. Maybe that house with the garden you mentioned wanting. I see lazy Sunday mornings and family dinners with Jenna and whoever else we collect along the way. I see us building something real and lasting and beautiful." "I see that too," Maya whispered. "All of it. No rush though. Ethan said, stroking her hair. "We take it at your pace. One day at a time, one milestone at a time. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. I'm here for all of it." They spent the rest of the evening talking about dreams and plans and possibilities, not with the desperate urgency of people afraid their happiness might disappear, but with the calm confidence of two people who knew they'd found something worth protecting and nurturing. Around midnight, as Ethan was preparing to leave, they still maintained separate apartments. Respecting Maya's need for independence and space, he paused at the door. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For trusting me, for letting me in, for taking a chance on us even when you were scared. I know that took courage." "You made it easy," Maya said honestly. "You never gave me a reason not to trust you. That's everything, Ethan. That's the difference between you and every fear Kelvin put in my head." "He was wrong about you, you know," Ethan said quietly. "Everything he ever said, every way he made you feel small or worthless or broken, it was all lies. You're extraordinary, Maya, and I feel like the luckiest man in the world that you chose me." Fresh tears pricked Maya's eyes. "I love you. I love you too. One more kiss, sweet and lingering. See you tomorrow, always." After he left, Maya got ready for bed with a smile she couldn't suppress. She caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. She looked happy, healthy, whole. Nothing like the broken, terrified person who'd run into that elevator 6 months ago. That elevator, that moment, that intersection of her worst fear and her greatest blessing. Sometimes Maya thought about how different her life would be if she'd taken the stairs that night, if she'd hidden in a supply closet, if she'd done anything other than run straight into that elevator where Ethan happened to be standing. But she hadn't. She'd run towards safety without knowing safety was waiting. And that choice, that desperate, terrified choice, had led to everything good in her life now. As she climbed into bed, Maya pulled out her journal, a habit Dr. Chen had encouraged. She wrote about her first day of student teaching, about Ethan's celebration dinner, about the conversation that had mapped their future together. And then she wrote something else. "To the girl I used to be, the one who thought she'd never escape, the one who believed she didn't deserve better, the one who'd forgotten what it felt like to be valued. I see you. I honor you. I'm grateful for your survival. But I'm not you anymore. I'm someone new, someone stronger, someone who knows her worth and won't settle for less, someone who's building the life we always dreamed of. We made it. We're going to be okay. Actually, we're going to be more than okay. We're going to be happy." She closed the journal and turned off the light, falling asleep with a smile on her face and hope in her heart. The elementary school gymnasium buzzed with excitement as parents, teachers, and students gathered for the annual talent show. Maya stood backstage with her third-grade class, helping them prepare for their performance, a group reading of a poem they'd written together about courage and kindness. "Miss Thompson, I'm nervous," little Sophia whispered, tugging on Maya's sleeve. "That's okay," Maya said, kneeling to Sophia's level. "Being nervous means you care. That's a good thing. And remember what we talked about? Courage isn't about not being scared," Sophia recited. "It's about being scared and doing it anyway." "Exactly," Maya smiled. "And I'll be right there in the front row, cheering for you. You've got this." Sophia nodded, looking braver. Maya felt a surge of love for this child and all the others she taught. This job, this calling, was everything she'd hoped it would be, and more. Every day she got to make a difference. Every day she got to be the kind of teacher she'd needed when she was young. The past 2 years had been transformative. Maya had graduated with honors, passed her certification exams on the first try, and been offered a position at Riverside Elementary, a school in a lower-income neighborhood where many kids came from challenging home situations. It was exactly where she wanted to be. She and Ethan had moved in together a year ago to a small house with a garden just outside the city. They'd gotten a rescue dog named Charlie, who had separation anxiety and fit perfectly into their little family. Life was busy and beautiful and sometimes chaotic, but it was theirs. "Miss Thompson?" Another student, Marcus, appeared at her elbow. "Is Mr. Ward here yet?" Maya smiled. Her students adored Ethan, who'd become a regular presence in her classroom. He'd funded a literacy program, donated books, and occasionally came in to read to the kids or talk about entrepreneurship. The children didn't see him as a wealthy businessman. They saw him as Miss Thompson's partner, who cared about their education. "He's out there somewhere," Maya assured Marcus. "He wouldn't miss this." The talent show began. Maya watched from the wings as various classes performed songs, skits, dances. When it was her class's turn, she walked them on stage, gave them an encouraging nod, and stepped back. They performed beautifully. Their poem about courage brought tears to several parents' eyes. Maya's heart swelled with pride as she watched these children, many from broken homes, many dealing with challenges that would crush some adults, stand tall and share their truth. When they finished to thunderous applause, Sophia ran to Maya and hugged her tight. "We did it, Miss Thompson." "You did it," Maya corrected. "I'm so proud of all of you." After the show, as families milled around the gymnasium, Maya felt a familiar arm slip around her waist. She leaned into Ethan's embrace, smiling up at him. "They were amazing," he said. "They were," Maya agreed. "Every single one of them. Like their teacher," Ethan said, pressing a kiss to her temple. They stayed to talk with parents, to celebrate with students, to revel in the kind of community event that made teaching worthwhile. As the crowd thinned, Maya and Ethan walked out to the parking lot hand in hand. "So," Ethan said casually, "I was thinking about how perfect today was, how perfect every day is with you, about how I don't want to wait anymore." Maya stopped walking, her heart suddenly racing. "Ethan," he turned to face her fully, and Maya saw he was nervous. Ethan Ward, billionaire entrepreneur, master negotiator, the man who commanded boardrooms, nervous. "I had a whole plan," he said with a slightly shaky laugh. "A romantic dinner, a sunset, a perfectly rehearsed speech. But standing here, watching you with those kids, seeing you in your element, I realized I don't want to wait for the perfect moment. This is the perfect moment. Every moment with you is perfect." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's breath caught. "Maya Thompson," Ethan said, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, elegant but not ostentatious, exactly what she would have chosen. "2 years ago, you ran into an elevator trying to escape danger, and somehow, impossibly, you ran straight into my life. You've made me better, happier, more grateful for every day. You've shown me what real strength looks like, what genuine courage means, and I want to spend the rest of my life being worthy of the love you give me." Tears streamed down Maya's face as Ethan lowered himself onto one knee in the school parking lot, surrounded by nothing but evening light and the distant sound of children playing. "Will you marry me?" he asked. "Will you let me be your partner in everything? Will you build this beautiful life with me?" Maya didn't even need to think about her answer. It had been written in her heart since that first dinner in her apartment, since the moment she realized that loving Ethan didn't make her weak, it made her stronger. "Yes," she said, laughing through her tears. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Ethan stood and slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that felt like coming home. Around them, a few parents who'd witnessed the proposal started applauding. Maya heard whoops and cheers, but it all felt distant. Her entire world had narrowed to this moment, this man, this incredible life they were building together. When they finally pulled apart, both grinning like fools, Ethan took her face in his hands. "I love you," he said, "so much, more than I knew it was possible to love someone." "I love you too," Maya replied. "Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being exactly what I needed when I needed it most. Thank you for running into that elevator," Ethan said with a smile. "Best night of my life." "Mine too," Maya said, and she meant it. The worst night had become the best night. The moment she'd been most afraid had led to everything she'd ever wanted. They drove home together, calling Jenna and Catherine and Dr. Chen to share the news. Everyone cried happy tears. Everyone celebrated. And when they finally made it home to their little house with the garden, Charlie bouncing around their feet with excitement, Maya felt a completeness she'd never experienced before. This was home. This was love. This was the life she'd dreamed of during those dark years with Kelvin, when she thought happiness was something that happened to other people. But it had happened to her, because she'd been brave enough to run, brave enough to accept help, brave enough to heal, brave enough to trust again, brave enough to love again. That night, curled up in bed with Ethan, her engagement ring catching the moonlight, Maya thought about the journey that had led here, from victim to survivor to warrior to woman in love. Every step had been hard, every choice had required courage, but every moment had been worth it. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan murmured, half asleep. "About how far I've come," Maya said softly. about how grateful I am that you were in that elevator, about how sometimes the worst moments lead to the best chapters. Ethan tightened his arms around her. Best chapters, he agreed sleepily. With you. Every chapter is the best chapter. Maya smiled in the darkness, her heart full to bursting. She'd run into that elevator, fleeing her ex, unaware the millionaire was inside. When the doors opened, her entire life had changed. She'd found safety, healing, love, purpose, everything she'd lost and everything she'd never had. And now she had a future to look forward to, a wedding to plan, a lifetime to build, with a man who saw her clearly and loved her completely, with students who needed her, with friends who supported her, with a career that fulfilled her. She'd survived, she'd healed, she'd thrived, and she'd never been happier. Sometimes life breaks us in ways we think we'll never recover from. Sometimes we find ourselves running from dangers that seem inescapable. Sometimes we're so broken we can't imagine ever being whole again. But here's what Maya's story teaches us. Healing is possible. Love after trauma is possible. Building a beautiful life from the ashes of a broken one is possible. It takes courage. It takes support. It takes time and patience and the willingness to keep trying, even when it feels impossible. Maya ran into that elevator trying to escape her past. She had no idea she was running toward her future. She couldn't have known that the worst moment of her life would lead to the best chapter, that the man standing in that elevator would become her partner, her supporter, her greatest love. But that's how life works sometimes. The doors open when we least expect it. Help appears in unexpected forms, and sometimes, when we're brave enough to run toward safety, we find that safety was waiting for us all along. If you're in a situation like Maya was, please know, you deserve better. You deserve safety and respect and love that lifts you up instead of tearing you down. There are people waiting to help, resources available, futures waiting to be claimed. You just have to be brave enough to run, to ask for help, to believe you deserve more. And if you've ever been the person in the elevator, the one who witnessed someone's pain and chose to help instead of looking away, thank you. Thank you for being what someone needed. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for proving that kindness still exists in this world. Maya's story is one of survival and healing and hard-won happiness. But more than that, it's a reminder that we all have the power to change someone's life, sometimes by offering help, sometimes by accepting it, always by choosing courage over fear, connection over isolation, love over hate. The elevator doors will open. The question is, what will we do when they do? If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below telling me what resonated with you most, and subscribe so you never miss a story about love, courage, and the strength of the human spirit. Remember, your story isn't over. The best chapters might still be waiting to be written.